alternative, please help me welcome Andrew Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, honored judges. I did notice one thing today with our esteemed colleagues from Positively Speaking. They managed to hide behind this lectern. I think they were hiding behind the fact that they could not prove that pies are better than cakes. Listening to Dennis' speech, I found it a slight bit on the negative side, like he was trying to pick on the greatness of cake. Did he prove that pies were any better than cake? I think not. The one best part I did hear from his speech, and he said it 10 times, were that cakes are better than pies. He spoke of J.R. Ewing. He spoke of J.R. Ewing, one of the meanest men on the planet. Perhaps this guy could have benefited from a piece of cake. Maybe someone forgot his birthday one day. Maybe he was one of those old men that wanted to blow out that cake. He stated that cake was food for the arrogant. I suggest to you that history had it all wrong. Marie Antoinette was trying not to be arrogant. She was merely trying to say to the masses, well, you know, we don't have any bread, but we do have cake. Why don't you just have some cake? Perhaps I could be wrong. A cakewalk, a reward for a slave winning this contest. What's wrong with that? What else should he have as a reward? Now that tradition's been passed on generation to generation, and when I was in school, I remember walking around in that circle, hoping that the music stopped and I got that cake. So look how that has changed. But if you look at pie, it's still a crust, it's still filling. It really has not adapted to the ages. Racy cakes. Yes, I think we've all seen those racy cakes. I've also walked into Safeway and seen a puppy dog cake. In fact, I walked into Safeway, handed them a picture, and they printed it on rice paper, and you could have a birthday cake with your picture on it. I don't ever remember seeing that for pie. Brides getting the cake. That was interesting. I never knew that. I thought, wow, that's different. Of course, again, people adapt, and now a wedding cake is an integral part of a wedding. In fact, don't tell my wife about that last bit. She would have me for dinner. How many pies have been thrown in people's faces? From hockey players to prime ministers. It's not a good thing to get a pie in the face. But I don't remember anybody throwing cake in people's faces. As for blowing out the candles, I have lots of children, and every one of my children know that if you miss blowing out a candle on a birthday cake, it signifies how many boyfriends or girlfriends that you have. And people clap because you didn't have 3 or 4 or 5 of them. It's not a negative thing. And they do make candles that say 100 on them that you could put on cake. You don't need to put 100 candles on one cake. You have just one. Now what about that child that had that coin and swallowed it? Can anybody in this room tell me that child still would not want that coin? I bet you they would. And you know, we don't have that problem in this day and age because now we have toonies and loonies, and it won't be long before we put credit cards in. So that is no longer an issue. Pies, yes, pies are mostly dessert, but there are savory pies. There's fish or cakes. There's fish cakes, which is a complete rip-off, by the way. Fish pie stole that from us. There's crab cakes, there's pancakes, and there's rice cakes. So there's much variety there. I think that cake is jealous of all these different shows. Because there is no shows about pies. Sorry, you just can't have your cake and eat it too. Oh wait, maybe you can. The whole argument to me was on how bad cakes are. Well, I looked at this and said, how good are cakes? And me personally, I'd rather take the positive over the negative any day. Mr. Chairman?
Madam Timer, could we have the times, please, for both the speakers and the rebuttals?
Speakers, for Andrew, 5:32. Joe's was 7:40. Bob's was 5:36. And Dennis was 6:54. For the rebuttals, Joe was 3:36. Bob was 4:05. Dennis was 4, and Andrew was 5:08.
May we now have, Madam Timer, 2 minutes to allow the judges to correlate some of their material so that they can review what their judging will be. Madam Timer, 2 minutes of silence, please. Ask for the evaluator of Andrew's speech to come forward, please. Who was that? Heron Murphy.
Especially, would you like to continue?
No.
Can you restart that, please? I had a little bit of an interruption while I was speaking. Mr. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and especially Andrew. Andrew was speaking to us this evening. His project was from the Competent Communicator Manual. It was project number 9, which is Persuade with Power. His objectives were persuade listeners to adopt your viewpoint or ideas or to take some action, appeal to the audience's interest, use logic and emotion to support your position, avoid using notes, and his timing was 5 to 7 minutes. Right off the bat, I really liked how Andrew opened up his opening, so his structure. I really liked his opening, letting us know exactly when cake was first invented. A small tip in that area for me, it would have been nice to have a year. I really don't remember when Mount Vesuvius erupted. So I would have liked to have a year so that I can go, wow, it's been what, 50 years? So a date would have been nice to put in there, but I like how he started that. Also, another thing that I always appreciate as a listener is tell me what you're going to talk about. And that's what he did. He said, tonight I'm going to talk to you about why cakes are better than pies. So I'm ready now. I'm ready to listen to what he has to say. In my evaluation form, it asked me if I saw sincerity in his delivery. Definitely his body language and his vocal variety. He had volume, loud volume and tone to say how sincere he was about cakes being better than pies. He talked about, in his body of his speech, he talked about different types of cakes, different sizes and shapes. He even said A to Z. I really liked that. He talked about A to Z, angel food cake to zebra. That was really nice. I would have liked to have seen you fill in the rest of the blanks. No, I'm just kidding. B, C, D, E. He also made reference to, this also brought me back to my aunt, because he said he really enjoyed his aunt who used to make him fruitcake with that warm sauce on it. Was it caramel?
Hot rum.
Oh, hot rum sauce.
Yes.
So that brought me back, because when he said that, I was thinking of my aunt who used to make her famous upside down pineapple cake. It was delicious. So, you know, it was nice because he brought me in. Couple of tips, I already mentioned the date. The other tip that I would have liked is maybe you left us with a quote, the Marie Antoinette quote about they shall eat cake. It would have been nice to start with a quote maybe. If you're gonna end with a quote, maybe start with a quote. And also, I always like to hear characters come to life. When you said my wife, I would have liked to have a name. My wife Edith, or just, you know, I know you didn't have to go into everything about your wife, but maybe just give a name to your wife. All in all, I really, I think that Andrew has met his objectives.
Who's evaluating Joe Canera? Al, come forward. Please help me welcome.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I found Joe's speech was, it was to guide and persuade with power. I found him very confident in his speaking and very calm in his speaking. He had lots of research. Like I felt like he went into the encyclopedia or the internet and really researched pies. I'd never heard of half the pies that he talked about. And there was a lot of history in his speech. He spoke of pies being used in the past and where they came from. And he was also very enthusiastic about his pies. He didn't speak too much about the cake. He really liked his pies. And I felt it emotionally got me really excited about pies too. I thought, geez, I'm gonna go home and make a pie. I think that he persuaded me to accept pies over cakes. And he understood pies very, very well.